And we're back. Before I introduce our guests, I want to show you a map. Now take a close look at this map because we're going to be talking about it quite a bit. I got a lot of information from these folks to get across to you, and this map plays a major role. Our guests today, and let me check my notes here. First of all, we've got Jeri Koehler on the far end. Jeri, you're
I'm Director of Economic Development for the Claremore Industrial Economic Development
And this
Authority.
is going to impact this area.
Absolutely.
In fact, it's going to impact everywhere. But anyway, thanks for making it in. Also, we got Phil Albert. And Phil is the CEO of Pelco Structural. Phil, we've worked together before.
We have, Sam. Thank you.
Get you a union card, boy. And then we've got, let's see, Mario Hurtado.
Yes, that's right.
I got it, didn't I?
You did.
This guy's important to me because he came in and dropped a bomb or two at lunch today, and I heard him say things like millions of dollars, megawatts, and all of a sudden I'm going, whoa, this is a big deal. What are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen? We're talking about a power line coming through.
Right.
And we're talking about wind energy. And I don't know where to start except perhaps at the beginning. How do you two figure into this before we get started?
Sure. Well, if you want, I'll go first. So our company, Clean Line Energy, focuses on building long-haul electric transmission to connect the best wind sources in the country, which are mostly in the Great Plains. It's the best onshore wind resource in the world, really. And then being able to connect that with larger demand centers that are both east and west of the Great Plains. Because as you know, there's a lot of wind in the Great Plains, but there's not a lot of people, and so hence there's not much of a grid infrastructure out there.
Sure.
So as we move to cleaner energy sources, one of the cheapest sources of energy is that wind that's in the Great Plains. So you have to harness it and then get it to market. So we're focused on that. And we started working on this project about 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. We were working in the community, and Phil Albert saw that we were working on this project, and he approached us.
Let's bring Phil into this. Phil, what does your corporation do?
I'm an infrastructure provider, so I will be a vehicle for the construction of the transmission line itself.
And Jeri, you're the one that's standing around going, holy Toledo, look at the jobs coming to this part of the world.
Absolutely. So the economic impact of this, both from direct jobs and indirect, will be generational. And we can't even really put our finger on how large the economic impact will be, but I'm a big supporter of the project, and I'm excited to see it move forward.
So significant is an understatement.
Absolutely.
What we're talking about here, folks, is a major power line that's going to run from roughly the region of the panhandle of Oklahoma and parts of Texas, across Oklahoma, through Arkansas, and what, into Tennessee?
Yeah, into western Tennessee near Memphis.
And it's going to carry electricity, and it's going to be electricity generated by those big wind turbines that you've seen out in Arizona and parts of Texas. And I got to tell you, when I started, there's what we're talking about, and it's called a wind farm, am I correct?
That's correct.
It's amazing that it's just not coming to Oklahoma, but what an incredible announcement. How many counties will this pass through?
Well, in Oklahoma, we'll pass through, I believe, about 12 counties. And then about an equal number in Arkansas, and then 2 counties in Tennessee. So the whole project is about 720 miles end to end, and it has large substations at each end, one near Guyman, Oklahoma, one near Memphis, Tennessee, and then a third substation will be just east of Little Rock.
Okay, so if we name one for Tesla, who are we going to name the other 2 for? See, a lot of folks
That's
don't
a
realize,
great question. We don't have really good names for those substations
but I
yet.
suggest Tesla is one. I got to tell
I'll
you,
put that in the hat.
a lot of folks don't realize that if you turn on a switch in Oklahoma City to shoot electricity toward Tulsa, you got to boost it. A lot of folks think, oh, it's going to have the same power when it leaves Oklahoma City as when it arrives in Tulsa. That's not the case. So you've got to have boosters and transmission lines and do wackadoos and all these things at these different power stations to keep the incredible wattage up and going.
That's right.
How many stations altogether? 3?
There'll be 3 substations. One of the advantages of the technology we're using, which is called high voltage direct current transmission, is that you can move a lot of power a long distance with very low losses. That means that it's more economic, and it means that we can move all that energy over one set of structures, which is better for land use and more economical and efficient. And the other advantage that it has is that this technology allows you to control the flow directly. Most of electricity on our grid, it works through indirect control, sort of like how you manage water with gravity. But direct current technology, you actually dial in exactly where the energy will go and the quality of that delivery of that energy. So it's a nice advantage, and it works really well with renewable energy, with the wind resources we're going to work with that are variable energy sources. Direct current gives lots of advantages for that as well.
You know, and just sitting here and hearing you talk earlier, it's staggering the number of jobs that we're talking about. So the impact to Oklahoma, which is in dire straits, as you probably already know, is going to be enormous. What kind of revenue are we talking about, and how's it going to break down?
Well, the transmission project will cost about $2.3 billion, north of $2 billion of investment. Just in Oklahoma, that'll equate to about $1 billion of investment in Oklahoma.
Now that's private investment. That
is all private investment, and it's really market-driven investment. This whole project is really built on meeting a demand for affordable wind energy and doing that on a long-term basis with the most efficient infrastructure.
How will Oklahoma benefit financially?
Well, Oklahoma will benefit from the direct investment, and it'll benefit from the jobs that it takes to build the transmission line and then build the new wind energy farms, the wind farms that you talked about. That means thousands of jobs over 2 to 4 years to build all of this infrastructure. Then there's hundreds of jobs on a permanent basis to operate and maintain it. And it turns out when you build these things, you also have a lot of demand on manufacturing. So you need the right kind of components to build up this infrastructure. That's where Pelco Structural comes in, and they make many of the transmission towers that we'll have for the project here in Claremore.
So we're talking about, when you say support jobs after it's completed, in terms of maintenance, you're talking about guys that have to climb the towers, get up there, and there's a certain amount of lubricant that's involved. There's a certain amount of cleaning that's involved. I mean, just like anything else with moving parts. And this is an ongoing affair, and there might be a time for replacement of parts.
That's right.
So all of those things you're going to look to Oklahoma for.
Yes, we will look to Oklahoma for lots of human talent to be able to operate and maintain the project. The other thing that happens when you invest this kind of capital in the state is that you've added to the asset base to lots of different communities, and that means higher tax revenue. So in Oklahoma, education is largely funded through ad valorem property tax, and this project will pay about $1 million per county that we cross in Oklahoma. So just in the first year of operation, we'll pay over $13 million in ad valorem property tax, and then every year after that we'll also be paying ad valorem property tax.
That's a major announcement and very important. Phil, what does this mean for your business?
Well, it's transformational for Pelco Structural. I'm just one of the many companies in Oklahoma that will be part of this project, what I think is tantamount to a historic project from a construction standpoint. So specifically for Pelco, it will mean doubling the size of our workforce, permanent jobs here in Claremore. For businesses that we're partnered with in our area, whether it be freight companies, galvanizers, steel providers, all of those businesses will benefit from this project on a long-term basis.
So that's going to mean we're going to see a lot of happy families for a change.
Sam, we are, and the other thing I'd mention to you for anybody that's watching this program that might be in my shoes, there's a website you can go to and a very friendly registration process. Clean Line wants to partner with local companies like Pelco.
You know,
right.
Jeri, well, you
I'm
can't.
sorry.
This is a no loser situation. Everybody's going to win in this. Jeri, if I'm reading this correctly, untold millions are going to be pumped into the economy with the coming of these jobs. Will that not happen?
Absolutely. So in economic impact or in economic development, there's a significant impact when you can take something and sell it outside of your area and bring those outside dollars in. So that's coming to Oklahoma in several ways. So we're taking assets that we have, we're getting to sell them outside the borders of the state. So it's not only the direct impact from the construction of the project, but it will be an ongoing impact through the operations of it. And Claremore's a beneficiary of that through Pelco Structural, through the direct jobs that will come from that. And as Mr. Albert mentioned, the engineering and the galvanizing and all of those other secondary and tertiary jobs that will come from this.
And it's going to take how long to build these and get them up and running?
Between 2 and 4 years will be to build the transmission line and then the new wind energy facilities that'll connect to it.
So for the next, and I'll just use that loosely for a minute. For the next 4 years, we're talking about an influx of workers, a major change in the tax base, a major change on the local level as these workers need a place to eat, for their children to go to school, the place to shop, a place to stay. So it's gonna impact all along the way, isn't it?
Absolutely. So Oklahoma's been a pioneer in energy before, and this is another opportunity for us to show our strengths in innovation and be leaders in transforming the economy of energy and what it looks like not only in Oklahoma but across the country. I'm excited that Oklahoma gets to be a leader in this and that Claremore is at the epicenter of all of it. But that will have a very long-term impact to our state.
What's pretty incredible to me is to sit back and know, it's one thing to say, I'm going to build me a wind farm and I'm going to build me a bigger plant and I'm going to hire more folks and we're going to run this line from way out the other side of Oklahoma right on through to Tennessee. That doesn't just happen overnight. That takes the congressional delegation. That takes working with congressional delegations from other states. It takes a lot of sweat and toil to get it up and running, doesn't it?
It sure does. But I think, Sam, what you said is exactly right. It takes a lot of different people. And one of the things that we're really happy about is that we've got partners and supporters like the folks here in Claremore. But like them, there are folks in western Oklahoma and the Panhandle who are really excited about being able to harness that wind energy and have ranchers get revenue from the new wind generation, or people in Arkansas that are excited about the jobs that are going to come there because of the supply chain that we're utilizing there and the delivery of energy to that state, and likewise in Tennessee. This project will supply energy for more than 1.5 million homes throughout the Mid-South and Southeast. That's really significant, and it's something that's going to provide benefits not just for 1 year, but for a long way down the road for this generation and hopefully for many to come.
I asked you this question earlier, and I want to give you a chance to sort of expand on it just a bit. If, God forbid, the power grid in the east were to go down, which would have a domino effect on other power grids as well, and this is still generating electricity, even though it may not be going where it needs to go, Oklahoma could still tap into that, couldn't they?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, the benefit of having a network is that it spreads your risk and it allows you to manage things over a greater resource area and a greater demand area. And so, one of the amazing things about our country is we have probably the best energy network in the world, both on the electricity level, but in natural gas and in oil and many other things. In the business I'm in, which is electricity, this part of the country is part of the Eastern Interconnection, which is probably the largest machine in the world. It starts in close to the border of Texas, goes all the way up through northern Canada, and all the way to the Atlantic coast. And what that does is work as one machine that supplies power to the many millions of people in this part of the country. And what we're doing is adding another branch to that network. And we're doing that to make it more reliable and to make it move a lot of energy from one part of the country to the other. But the cool thing will be that in addition to providing just the energy, it'll also give a lot more reliability to the whole network.
When do we see the first shovel of earth turned? When does that start?
Well, you talked about the fact that it takes a long time to get to this point. We still have a lot of work to do to get to the next step as well, but we're well on our way to being able to start construction in late 2017, and then we think we'll be in operation for mid-2020. We're at the stage now that we're completing many of the activities before we start construction, and we're excited about starting to put that shovel in the ground and getting going, because what really matters is being able to put the infrastructure in the ground, start having the energy flow, and start having the revenues flow to Oklahoma.
Sure. Phil, have you any plans at this point, a timetable as to when you're going to start the hiring process?
You know, we're already in the engineering phase of this process. I know that Cleanline is leasing. We have some equipment on order, and we're in the process of ramping up to begin construction.
Gosh, it's got to be.
It's very
It's
exciting.
got to be exciting. It's got to be like going back to the old motion picture Tulsa, when the wells were popping up, and all of a sudden here we are. Here we go again.
Right.
I mean, we're talking serious excitement. That puts you under the gun to get the word out to hotels and restaurants and filling stations alike.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for the area that the line goes through, that will have a significant impact. More importantly, for Claremore, for our area, would be getting the word out to our partners in education, whether it be Rogers State University or Northeast Technology Center, or others that are doing workforce development in the Tulsa area, that we can partner with them and get that word out, so that Mr. Albert has the skilled talent he needs to be hiring
Well,
for
you
those
know
jobs.
what? You bring up an interesting point. The skills that we need. The days of old carried with them certain types of laborers. They're gone. Those jobs won't be back. Yet there is going to be a need for a new type of engineer, for a new type of designer, for a new type of maintenance person. That would tell me that colleges and universities are going to have to start paying attention, because all of a sudden they're going to want to fill them with local folks. Am I reading this correctly?
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Albert can speak even better than I can about the type of laborers he has in his facility. And for a CNC machinist, it's not banging metal, it's operating computer equipment.
You know, Sam, we just don't have unskilled positions in the manufacturing environment any longer. And especially as we look at advanced manufacturing techniques, our partnerships with local career techs and universities like Rogers State are very important.
We got about 4 minutes, and I know there is no way that a short program such as this can do justice to a project with the enormous impact this clearly is going to have. This is an opportunity for you to take the ball and help explain to the folks the importance of the economic impact that this will have on the state of Oklahoma. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sam. The thing about energy is that every good energy project is also a really great economic development project. We believe that this project, with the billions of dollars that it's going to bring to Oklahoma, the thousands of jobs that it's going to require, is going to be a great boost to the economy here. We're extremely happy to be in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has been an energy pioneer and a leader for many years, and we think we're just continuing in that process and pointing to the future with a new energy technology to join what's already existing and the great things that are happening. But the important thing, energy is great, and that's what I work in, and so I'm really excited that we're going to be able to deliver this energy. But the most important thing is that it's going to deliver income, jobs, and prosperity to people here in Oklahoma and throughout the project area.
You know, I owe you a big thank you, because now I'll soon be able to get off my meds. I've been over here becoming a screaming maniac saying the state needs to diversify. Diversification is the only key for us to bail out this wonderful state and to do anything for education and do anything for the state as a whole. And yet, in walks this Mario brother, if you will, who says to me, "Hey, I got a deal for you." That's not just a deal, that's a game breaker, Muddy. I mean, what's coming is just astronomical.
Yeah, it's very exciting. But you know, this wouldn't happen without the history that Oklahoma has and the policies that they've got and the leaders that they've got. I mean, the reason that we came to Oklahoma was not only because of the wind resource and the energy source, but because we knew it was a great place to invest and a great place to have an energy business.
Well,
So that's been a huge for our company.
Let me interrupt very quickly because we're fast running out of time. The domino effect here is going to be incredible. Once the money starts to flow, based on your projections, then the state chamber's concerns about the legislature not doing enough for education will be partially answered to some extent because of the influx of dollars, which will make Oklahoma more attractive to further diversification of industry coming to Oklahoma. So this becomes a real game changer all the way around.
Yeah, well, you know, success breeds success.
Yeah.
And so I think if you have a solid policy framework and you have good leadership like Oklahoma does, then that allows you opportunities to build a new investment that's going to provide benefits now and in the future. And we're just happy to be part of that story.
Boy, I got to tell you, this is exciting, and I'm glad I lived to see it happen. Thank you for taking time to come visit. And by the way,
Thank you
you've
for
got
having me.
quite a background in, or your family does, in education. Wasn't your mother a teacher?
My mother was a college professor. My dad taught some. I still have a brother-in-law that's a university professor in Houston. So I've learned from very early on the value of education and the value of being broad and learning lots of different things. One of the things that, you know, I've heard other people say, so it's not mine, is that, you know, you don't know what your job is going to be 5-10 years from now. So you have to have the education to be able to take advantage of that in the future.
Be ready for change.
That's right.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We're all out of time. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned because I got a feeling down the road we're going to hear from these folks again. We'll see you next time.